Caitlin Clark is the only player in the history of the WNBA to achieve those numbers or better. Now, here's the deal. I get what she's saying. See, I used to think dominant was, hey, man, Will Chamberlain had 50 and 25, or somebody had 30 and 20 rebounds. But now, post-Magic, Larry, et al. Era, dominant must include assists. He's pretty dominant. And frankly, here's even worse. If you watch the game, if you've ever been to a game, no. She's not only dominant, she dominates. She dominates the ball, dominates the other team's thought, dominates her own team's thought, dominates the crowd, dominates the entire area of the arena. It's been one of the most overall inside and outside of the WNBA dominant performances in the history of the WNBA. In fact, I would argue in total, sales, interest, ticket sales, jersey sales, publicity, people around her going nuts. Probably one of the most dominant summers we've ever had of anybody post McGuire and Sosa. Maybe Judge a year or two ago, but baseball seems to have fallen in the back of our consciousness despite great crowds on a Tuesday night at most ballparks. Anyway, I digress. Let's hear from the hater that is Sheryl Swoopes, the nasty one.
If we had a number, if we would have said when we're talking about dominating with Caitlin Clark, what would those numbers have? What was the numbers?
It would have been a scoring number.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Because of that high clip, shooting it.
Right,
so
right.
we'd have been like,
That's what she did.
Do you consider 20 points per game?
When you said
so
it.
you don't consider 20 points per game?
So if her stats, when we're saying she won't do this in the W, she averaged 31.6, 7.4 rebounds, 9 assists, right? Did anyone expect her to do that in WNBA?
Those three? No.
Right? So she didn't do that.
No.
Now, if we say her stats are today, what?
20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But
That's crazy. Is that
5.6
Those are
turnovers,
hell of a
too.
number.
Those are hell
For
of
a
numbers.
rookie.
But to me, that's not
Period.
dominating.
Yeah, it's only not dominating because she's a rookie.
Now,
If
Yeah, that's the world of media we live in. 5 guys talking, trying to be cooler than the other. To me, that's not dominating. Look, I get it. And I'll also say this. I try to be fair on this show. If it was anybody other than Sheryl Swoopes, would be like, oh, okay. But you got to have equity, right? Yeah, Sheryl Swoopes has equity in hating on Caitlin Clark. You know, she's been there, done that, keeps doing it. And it's not only about basketball. It's about her relationships with other players or perceived relationships with other players. You know, if somebody else said, I don't think that's dominating. I think dominating, somebody my age said, I think dominating is 25 points, 28 rebounds, and 12 blocks, whatever. Back in the day, that was it. But look, it's Sheryl Swoopes. And we all understand. Well, let me read to you. Nobody was talking about Sheryl Swoopes before the WNBA season started. This is what I'm talking about right here. But she's figured out a way to jump back into the spotlight for the first time since retiring in 15 years. She's staying relevant by saying dumb things about the next popular women's basketball player, the most popular women's basketball player on the planet, while clearly falling into the trap of becoming addicted to her social media mentions filling up. Even if the overwhelming majority of the population disagrees with everything she's saying. See, I don't have a problem being on the side of the overwhelming majority disagreeing with what you're saying, or I don't have a problem if we're talking about basketball. Because my history dictates I've been with pretty smart people. I know a little bit about it, and I'm very confident. And that's how Sheryl Swoopes feels. So I get what Sheryl Swoopes feels like. I get she does not give a rat's ass one way or the other, whether or not some guy on a podcast or some guy in the media disparages her comments. I get that. I do. My problem is her comments are never about basketball. She can say it, she can talk it, she can think she's doing, but it's not. It's about being black, being being white, being straight, which Sheryl Swoopes is, and it's jealousy. You never want, I guess, I don't know, but you think you would 40 years later or however many years later, 15 years later, you never really want people to take your spotlight immediately. Most guys that get done coaching the next year, if the team does well, they're not that happy about it. Or if a team wins a national championship the year after you graduate, you feel some kind of way about it. But let's be honest, 15 years later, you're kind of like, eh. People say to me all the time, you don't want Indiana to win because you're not the coach. I go, well, maybe for 10 minutes. But as you move it along, who really cares? Like you grow into certain things. Well, sometimes you splat. The post-Sheryl Swoopes career has splat. She tried coaching, but she was so awful as a human being. I mean, the stories of her coaching, she got fired as an African-American woman at a Catholic school, Loyola, for being god-awful to players. She didn't win, but that ain't why she was fired. She was just ridiculous, mean, nasty. And so, adios. As an African-American woman, do you know how hard it is to get fired from a job, particularly a basketball job? I mean, I get it. You're going to tell me that that's some kind of racist or sexist, but I got to tell you, in talking to my bosses both at Emmis and both Radio 1 and where I'm at now, Cumulus, it's fact jack. That's how awful she is. So that awfulness goes on to disparaging others, and good for her. I mean, let's be honest. We're talking about Sheryl Swoopes. So she's happy. But let's also be honest. Caitlin Clark has been the best thing, the most dominant thing to happen to the WNBA ever. Remember, there's been good players come out of college. Really good, high-profile players. Hell, Rebecca Lobo felt like she, Taurasi, that crew, was on our TV every minute in March. But nobody really cared. We'd seen it. Nobody really, really cared. Sheryl Swoopes, you're wrong. It's the most dominating thing we've seen, whether it's in the arena, outside the arena, on the court, with the media. It's so dominant, in fact, that legends like Sheryl Swoopes are so damn jealous, they just can't stop themselves from stupidity. A WNBA co-owner unleashed a truly insane rant about Caitlin Clark, about Caitlin Clark's fans. The Atlanta Dream co-owner, Renee Montgomery, there ain't no way she owns nothing. They gave her like a napkin or a hot dog. Get out of here. Claims Clark's fans allegedly made AI porn of Angel Reese, sent death threats, and are racist, sexist, and violent with their words. Violent with their words is a new mantra. Let's hear it from someone named Renee Montgomery.
Hard Falcons fan can hate the Saints, but they would be going a little bit too far if they created nude AI pictures of Saints players and then sent them to the Saints players' families. That's what Caitlin stans have done to Angel Reese. A diehard Tennessee Vols fan could have hated our UConn Huskies, but they would have been going way too far if they sent death threats to the UConn players. And that's what they've done. That's what Caitlin stans have done. A diehard Celtics fan could hate the Lakers. And you know what? If we being honest, that Celtics fan base has definitely gone too far with some of their racist remarks and their treatments of players. It's not okay. It's okay to be a hater in sports. Like, hating in sports is a part of the game. Like, I like when our fans are so engaged and so passionate that they just don't like the other team. But being racist, sexist, and violent with your words, come on now. What are we doing? Come on now.
Come on now. That's the answer to everything. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sure none of this happened. Well, no, I'm not. I'm sure some of this happened. Why is it Caitlin Clark fans? I mean, why isn't it Diana Taurasi fans? Why isn't it fans of Asia Wilson? Why is it got to be Kate? Why is everything Caitlin Clark fan? Hey, look, I'm just going to tell you my experience. I am 1/1,000,000th as popular as Caitlin Clark. 1/1,000,000th. I got a guy wanting to do a Oklahoma drill, sending me notes at the golf course I was at yesterday. I'm 62 years old, and I'm still the standard by which young men test their strength, which is very odd to me because when I was 22 years old, I don't think anybody really cared about testing their strength against me. I get death threats all the time. I get lies said about me all the time. I don't know about the AI stuff. But when you bring on stuff, and let's do this. Let's compare this to Donald Trump. Donald Trump got shot, and people say he brought it on himself. I don't know. Let's use the same logic. Did Angel Reese bring this on herself? Now, my answer to that is this. There are a lot of idiots out there. A lot of idiots. I actually had a bag of dicks sent to my house. That's right, a bag of Gumby penises. Is that a death threat? I had a guy come to my daughter's business, work, where she was working. Want to know where we lived. I had a Molotov cocktail thrown at my house in high school. Started our house on fire. So maybe my opinion of words or violence, I don't know about that. I think actions are pretty violent. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Different generation. If any of this happens, should it stop? Yes. But it is in no way. I don't give a damn what Renee Montgomery or Angel Reese has to say. It is in no way a reflection on Caitlin Clark or Caitlin Clark's fans. It's just not. There's idiots out there. There's idiots out there of every race, every color, every origin, every sex. You name it, they got it. And if idiots want to say, and this is what they're doing, Renee Montgomery and Angel Reese, if they want to say that it's Caitlin Clark fans and lump them into that, well, that's par for the course on the old victim mentality. I'm doing this, she's doing this, but look at how bad her fans are. Her fans are little girls wearing 22. Her fans are moms and dads taking little girls and little boys to see something they've never seen. Her fans cheer like crazy, drive across the country from Iowa, Illinois, drive across the state of Indiana, come up from Kentucky, come across from Ohio. Nobody would consider anybody that sends a death threat, an AI post, a fan. They would consider them a crazy person. That's what they would consider them. But, of course, in this world, the Renee Montgomerys of the world, the Sheryl Swoopes of the world, they have to make this about something that we all know they're making it about. Look at this white girl and their white fans. These people aren't fans. If, and we've seen a lot of fake racial, what's the right word? Made up racial situations. BYU volleyball among the latest. Hell, Darius Leonard, the Colts linebacker, lying about being at Chipotle with racism stuff. Don't even get me started 100 years ago on Duke lacrosse. There's a ton of it. So I take all this crap with a grain of salt, but I know what they're doing. We all know what they're doing. They're making black against white, and that's stupid. This is basketball. This is sports. There is no race. And guess what? Those aren't fans. The people that are doing that, if they're doing that, they're just idiots. And if you're going to be popular, if you're going to be in the public eye, you're going to have a lot of idiots, period. A lot of them. A ton of them. Grumpy old man, not me. No, not me. What's wrong with you? Paul Finebaum. He's mad once again at Deion Sanders. See, let me just say this about Deion Sanders. I'll say this again. His team's getting better. Last year, they had to go triple overtime, beat Colorado State. Yeah, they got the hell beat out of them in the first half at Nebraska. Second half, a little different deal. And why do you play games? Coaches always say, I want to get a couple games under my belt, get better. Well, I think Sanders' team has gotten better, and I think that pisses off. And I'll be honest, I'll go the other way, old white guys. I think a lot of white people don't want to see Sanders be successful. Again, I do. I've told you. I don't care about all the hype, all the flash. I want to see what he's doing with his team. And in the second half of that Nebraska game, and I'm the only guy that said this, only guy on any show, that team got better. And that team beat the crap out of a team in Colorado State whose quarterback and wide receiver said they were offered $600,000 to go play each to go play somewhere else, so they're valued. That's a team, Colorado State, that said, you know what? That Colorado team did a lot of talking, blah, 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 and then got their ass whooped. I watched it. It was an ass whooping. So really, I don't want to hear from anybody other than Deion Sanders is coaching his team and coaching it well. Deion Sanders has once again called out the media for personal attacks on his players. Finebaum accused Sanders of gaslighting and labeled him as spineless for going after media members. What are you talking about? Media members go after guys like me every day. Guys like Sanders twice a day. What are you talking about? Let's hear from Finebaum, excuse me. John Feinstein's my buddy. Finebaum.
Deion right there was purely gaslighting, and it really unbecoming of somebody of his stature and status. He knows that's not true. The people that cover college football have been arguing vociferously for years to get more autonomy for players so they can make more money, so they can't be treated the same way that they always have. And for him to say that is just really specious. It's baseless. And quite frankly, it looks to me like he is living in an alternative universe, because that is simply not true. And to use the word slander, that is so far beyond the pale, because most people, the majority of the media, lifts these players up. They don't tear them down. Quite frankly, the only player on his team that has even come under scrutiny is his son, Sheryl Sanders. And right here on this program 24 hours ago, the entire panel, Stephen A., myself, and Shannon, defended him for not shaking hands with a player who was trash-talking him. So I frankly don't have any earthly idea where he came up with it. I think it's desperation, and it's entirely spineless of him to attack the media, who has not even attacked his players.
That's crap. They have been attacked all over the place, and Sanders is right for saying this. This is what Sanders said.
When I say I genuinely love these kids, I genuinely really do. It's not about what they can do for me on the football field. It's about what I can help them with in life. Landscape has changed in football. Once upon a time, you guys never attacked college players. Now they're making more money than y'all, and some of y'all are envious and jealous about that. So you're on the attack. It was hands off a college player because he's an amateur. Remember that, guys? Now it's hands on. Go at them any kind of way you want. They're making more money than me, and I'm mad about it. When you attack them, these guys are sensitive. They've never been attacked. They hadn't gone through what I've been going through with y'all for years. They haven't done that. So it is what it is. I know you're going to do your job and what you must do, but your job does not say attack. The personal stuff, leave it to be personal, because if we start flipping the script on y'all, you wouldn't like it. I can easy. Thank you, Lord, for stopping me there. Whoo, that was almost a good one. That would have went viral.
See, he's right about that. I mean, when Greg Doyle attacked me, I didn't go into all of his affairs. He did. I didn't go into any of that. He tried to clean that up. Beforehand, mentioning one when I know far more, I don't go into it. But he's absolutely right. Sanders is 1,000% correct here. It used to be, hey, we're not attacking players. Now they're making more money than them, and these fat slobs in the media, these pizza-stained, crumb-ridden dolts, can't stand it, and particularly playing for him. Look, here's the deal. Deion Sanders is 1,000% right. I mean, you get personal with these kids, you're wrong. You want to say the kid can't do this, can't do that, you're wrong. All these little guys here in the media, they always try to ingrain themselves into you. We got a guy here, Bob Kravitz. He tries to ingrain himself with normal people by talking how much he smoked weed in college. Guy smokes weed in college, and next thing you know, the media's all over him. But all these media douchebags did. All these media punks were involved in the same stuff. So I get it. You want to say Deion Sanders should have called timeout. He wasted 11 seconds in a game. Absolutely. You got to do that. You want to say Sheryl Sanders should have ran out of bounds. Fine. But Sanders is right. These idiots do get personal. And see, media cannot stand it. They gaslight you just like our politicians do. They put things on others that they are doing. It's an absolute mess. Our boy Doyle yesterday asked a question of the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Shane Steichen, that he admitted he didn't know what the question meant. He said, hey, 42% clean pocket from a website that I saw, but I don't know what that means. And Steichen's like, well, okay, whatever. I mean, it's lazy, it's jealous, it knows it's going away, and it's desperate. And guys like Finebaum, I really like. I like Paul. Paul's always been good to me, and I feel like I've always been good to him. But I got to tell you, he's dead wrong. You can call Deion Sanders a lot of things, but spineless ain't one. You know, Finebaum can sit there behind a desk, behind his little glasses, with his ESPN behind him and all that little stuff, and call others spineless, but that's the wrong word. It's just the wrong word. I mean, you can call him, if you'd like, you can call him dumb, ill-informed, whatever you want to call him, but he ain't spineless. Spineless hits home a little bit. I think he's pretty gutsy because what is the saying? Don't fight with anybody that buys ink by the barrel. That's what everybody says, right? Because they're always going to get the last word. I think it's pretty ballsy of Sanders to come in to a program, say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, we're going to be great. And even though it didn't go their way, they have maintained a public persona unlike any other. That'll go away this year if they don't win. But I'm telling you, those of you, I have not looked at their schedule right now. I just watch how their team plays. And those of you that think this team is poorly coached, those of you that think this team is no good, those of you that think this team is on the way down, you haven't paid attention. No, I'm sorry. You haven't paid attention. They got Baylor this week. They'll whip Baylor's ass. They got UCF next week. That'll be a tough one. They got a week off, and then Kansas State comes in. I'm just telling you, those of you that think Sanders' team is going to get its ass whipped early and often, you're going to be upset about it. That guy's coaching his ass off, and good for him. You can sit back and let all these idiots in the local media come at you, or you can stand up. He stood up. Dan Orlovsky is lying to us. He claims nobody at ESPN made him delete his Protect Our Daughters tweet. So in the process of revealing this, he made himself look more like a soft little biatch for not standing up for women in sports. Remember that Olympic boxer was beating the hell out of everyone, and she was supposedly a dude, and women were like, hey, she ain't a woman, and media was all over it, and Dan Orlovsky put out a tweet, Protect Our Daughters. Well, apparently you can't do that. Apparently ESPN doesn't allow you to protect our daughters because that would be a slight at the ESPN agenda. LGBTQ, ABCD, whatever the fuck. That's ESPN's agenda, not daughters, even though every anchor you see is the daughter of somebody. If they're not a man, the son of somebody. But anyway, Orlovsky was asked by our boy, Pat McAfee. ESPN did not, nor did anyone associated with ESPN tell me to delete that tweet. Orlovsky said to McAfee when asked if ESPN forced him to delete his Protect Our Daughters tweet. Well, why'd you do it? Well, it was an oopsie. Basically, here's what happened. Orlovsky put the tweet out. He realized this goes against what ESPN does. He deleted the tweet. Then he said, honestly, in his first interview about it, it goes against what ESPN's about. Then, of course, people are like, well, how can ESPN be about protecting our daughters? Orlovsky had to backpedal. And it went away because, well, unlike Deion Sanders, ESPN isn't going to attack one of their own. They're not going to call Dan Orlovsky spineless. I will. They're not going to call Dan Orlovsky gutless. I will. They're not going to do that. That's one of their own. That would be ESPN on ESPN crime. They don't want that. They don't want that at all unless it's Stephen A. Smith or one of the panelists on Get Up that are African-American going after somebody else. They're cool with that. We all know that. Hell, I know that. Everybody knows that. It ain't no secret. We all know there are different criteria at ESPN for ESPN employees. But what isn't there and what makes this hypocritical is they're so quick, as we just talked about Finebaum, as we just talked about Finebaum, going at with the word spineless on Deion Sanders. They're so quick to judge others. I mean, they are so quick. Spineless, gutless, coward. They'll throw that out. And remember, these are a bunch of dudes that couldn't play with themselves, much less play on a team. But they're quick to do it. But I haven't heard any of these guys yet, not one time, say, Orlovsky, why can't we protect our daughters? I haven't heard one of these little gals that you see on TV, other than Sam Ponder, and she got fired, come out and defend Sage Steele? Not one. Honest to God, I hear them talking about their C-sections. I hear them making up claims that a bill in Florida, which isn't Don't Say Gay, and they call it Don't Say Gay, and ESPN's okay with it. There has never in our lifetime become a more gutless organization than ESPN. Thank God for McAfee. Speaking of ESPN, old Woj left ESPN. Insider, gas bag, woke man. Adrian Wojnarowski is leading his role on TV to become the GM of the men's basketball program at St. Bonnie. There you go. Here's Woj.
We talked about this, and basically he wanted his life back. He didn't want to have to work on holidays. He didn't want to be away from more family gatherings. He didn't want to have to, as we had to do in the past, take a shower with your phone up against the shower door so you could see a text that's coming in, or take your phone with you to the urinal and hold it in one hand while you're trying to take care of your business in the other. That's the life that we live. And that was a life that he chose not to do any longer, because it takes over your life. You can't kind of do the job. You have to live the job. And he was done living the job. He wants to go live his life and work for his school and give back to younger athletes and help people beyond what he's done at the highest of high levels for however long he's done it. It's enough. He's had enough, and he gets to go out on his terms after he crushed it in free agency, after he crushed it during his career, and now he gets to do what he wants, which is exactly how it should be.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. I mean, honest to God, you guys, you're paid millions of dollars. Millions, you idiots, to bitch, whine, and moan about the job, about having, hey, some people dig ditches, work in factories. Some people work midnight shift work. And you're bitching out there, Adam Schefter. I did a game with you. You didn't know shit about sports. Not a goddamn thing. Nothing. Zero. Zip. Listen to you talk about actual sports. I'm sitting there going, this is Adam frickin' Schefter, the guy who's on TV. Oh, just shut the living hell up. Yelling at him on his terms. Oh, shut up. All these guys try to equate these bullshit puff-ass jobs to real jobs, to coaching, to playing. They're not shit. They read, they get a little snitch inside an organization, and the little snitch tells them, hey, look, we're going to trade Joey Bag of Donuts. Or they pay a frickin' or get a guy that's a GM like Chris Ballard who feeds them information, and next thing you know, they got Woj bombs and they got a whole persona. My ass. Oh, just shut the fuck up, Adam. Yelling at us about this job. I want my life back. Ah, shut up. Honest to God, you're making millions doing nothing. You don't develop anything. You don't build anything. You don't score a bucket, score a touchdown, hit a baseball. You don't do shit. But sit on TV, collect your money, and this is the same stuff I've been talking about. Little Adam Schefter went to Michigan, and I'm sure he was scrappy. I'm sure he was around all the players. I'm sure they called him their DSB, which every team has. Richard, sucking, whatever. That's all I'm saying. And I'm sure his scrappiness parlayed it into a newspaper career. And then he found his, never done anything but report on others. Not a thing. Hell, at least we've developed a show here. There was no Indie Sports Talk Radio until I started. And now Indie Sports Talk Radio is somewhat taking off. What are you talking about? His terms. Oh, shut up. These guys, I've been around. These guys act like this job is something. Like this job, oh, man, it's like I got to get my life back. I got to have my phone next to me and find out what a little kid, 18 years old, is doing in this. Oh, shut the living hell up with all that. Hey, look, Woj, good for you. And by the way, Woj grew up in a middle-class neighborhood. I grew up son of a factory worker. Okay. All right. Okay, Woj. All right, baby. Woj was born in the middle class. Oh, boy. It astounds me. It astounds me that I'm telling you. Well, let me finish my point on Schefter. And nobody knew who Schefter was. He goes on TV. Hell, I was on a plane with him sitting next to him in first class. People knew who he was. Hey, Adam, what do you think about it? And guys get big-ass egos. Even little guys like Schefter get big-ass egos. And if you listen to that rant, you're just like, shut up. Yelling at everybody. Why is everybody yelling? I am the only one that gets to yell, me and Stephen A. Smith. Now all of a sudden everybody's yelling. Jesus Christ. All right, we got more. Woj's announcement. Let's see this great day in American history. Woj is going to St. Bonnie. I grew up the son of a poor black child. That was a Steve Martin. I grew up the son of a fact. Get that off. Screw that. Let's see. Here's what Woj is really about. Let's show Woj's email to Senator Josh Hawley. Let's show that. Oh, man. There you go. F you. Solid, Woj. Very, very solid. Nice. That's who Woj is. And here's Woj's apology. Oh, Woj, this is like big. I was disrespectful, made a regretful mistake. I'm sorry for the way I handled myself. Reached out immediately to apologize. Need to apologize to my ESPN colleagues. Know my actions unacceptable. Should not reflect on. Yeah. Hey, Woj, we're going to fire you. You better put something out in your like little writer stuff. Oh, just stop. He's out on his terms. He wants his life back. He's a freaking sniffing around, sniveling around, digging up stuff on other people guy. Just shut up with all that. ESPN's Mel Kiper, who I like a lot, went on a massive rant about how the Panthers are mishandling Bryce Young after benching him for veteran Andy Dalton. He thinks Young has to play more than one series with a brand new offense in the preseason. Yeah, well, look, that's fine. Let's hear. Here it is. I think mishandle is the word because when you draft Bryce Young, you knew he was an outlier. Kyle Murray, because of Russell Wilson, became the number one pick, different body types than Bryce Young. So you knew Bryce Young was not only short but a small, diminutive quarterback who needed help, right? Well, yeah, but they see him every day. And this is the thing. I love Kiper. I will not rip Kiper. Kiper is awesome. I like talking to him. I like when he comes on my shows. I like Kiper a lot. But the one thing I would say is they're around him every day. They're around him every damn day. So we bring in an offensive line who was with Baker and others, right? Bring in a new passing game coordinator, new quarterbacks coach for Bryce Young. Then we don't play him in the preseason. Play him one series, final preseason game. Bryce Young played one series in the final season game against nobodies on the defense for the Buffalo Bills. Does that make sense to you? That 2 games in, you're saying he can't play? Well, it kind of does to me. It kind of does to me. My mother just hit me with, why are you using the F word? There are others that work. Mom, you are right. I apologize. I do. I apologize. You're right. My bad. I'm sorry. My bad. I am. I apologize for using the F word, Mom. You're right. I'd be smarter than that. But I got pissed. Sorry. By the way, hope you're feeling better. How about that? Name me a show where the host gets reprimanded by his mother in the middle of the show. And rightfully so. I like it. You know, this might be the perfect guest for today. Jay Feely, NFL kicker, NFL analyst, 14 years in the league, and friend of Donald Trump. How about that for a resume? His son kicks at Colorado. I mean, damn, this is all-encompassing. Thanks for coming on. This is your second time on the show. And I appreciate you doing it. Hey, you just mentioned this right before we started. You broadcast CBS last week of Bryce Young. Now he's benched. Give me your thoughts, what you saw of Bryce Young.
Well, first of all, I like him a lot, and I root for him. I want him to do well. He's a nice kid. You know, you do the meetings with him, and you really want to see him go out there and succeed. It just hasn't happened. And I blame the coaching staff and his receiving core a lot last year. I did one of their games, and they had the least separation in the league from that receiving core. And I don't think they did a good job with him last year, putting him in positions where he could succeed. You know, new staff this year, you bring in Dave Canales from Tampa, did a great job with Baker Mayfield. And he really struggled in that first game and didn't see it well. You know, the Saints were blitzing, they were coming after him, and you got to know where to go. You got to know where your outlets are. And he didn't do a good job. And I give Coach Canales a lot of credit because in our meetings, he told us, hey, they out-schemed us, and that's on me. And he put his hand up. And, you know, for a head coach, a young head coach, a first-time head coach to really take accountability like that, I thought that said a lot about him. And to talk to a broadcast team who he knows they're going to go on air and talk about that, I thought that was a good sign for that organization. But Bryce Young played really poorly in that second game. And he threw another interception similar to the one he threw in the first game. And after that, he looked shell-shocked. You know, there was a play later in the game in the second half that I thought really was probably the reason why they benched him. You know, it's a third down, critical play. He drops back. He actually has a clean pocket. Adam Thielen's open over the middle, and he turns it down. He doesn't throw it. And, you know, and he was looking right there. And I think it was, you know, kind of PTSD. When you throw a couple over the middle and they get picked off, you start getting hesitant. And I think they probably looked at that play and some of the others where he just didn't see it well and said, you know, we got to make a change. And it's probably the best for him, even if they come back to him 4 or 5 weeks from now, to sit on the bench, to watch a veteran like Andy Dalton go out there and run the offense and just kind of take a step back and try and reset yourself. And, you know, who knows what happens, you know, in Carolina, if he's got another opportunity there or not. But they have to know going into this next offseason, is he the answer? And for me, if I'm a Panthers fan, it was tough because I watched that game and I'm disappointed. It's a bad start. And then you got to go watch Sunday Night Football and you got C.J. Stroud playing against Caleb Williams, two guys you could have had, and you traded away both those picks.
Hey, honest to God, that you know, I know hindsight's 20/20, but man, not only did they take Bryce Young, but they moved a lot of capital, man. They traded a lot of stuff for that. Look, how much does? Well, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How much does a miscalculation on someone, you know, first pick in the draft as a quarterback, how long does that set your franchise back on a franchise that's already seemed to be set back?
They still got to give up a second-round pick in next year's draft, you know, and part of that move. So you don't take the right quarterback because C.J. Stroud is an absolute stud, and I just love him. I love everything about him. He's all about football. You know, he's all about building his teammates up. He's texting his teammates at night at 11:30, 12 o'clock, talking about football. And then the physical gifts that he has as well. It's amazing that you could miss that evaluation because Bryce Young is tiny. You know, I mean, he's not even close to 6 foot tall. He's slight in build. And you got C.J. Stroud, who, you know, is like Tom Brady, right? You know, he's coming straight out of casting. Is exactly what you want. You know, 6'4", 6'5", a big, strong quarterback with a big arm who, you know, can move as well. And so it's amazing to look at those two guys and see how badly they missed in that evaluation.
Yeah, honest to God, like, you know, in the Mafia, the guys that missed on the evaluation would be the guys getting whacked, man. You brought that guy in.
Well, they're all gone.
Along with him.
Yeah, they're all gone. The
right.
GM, the head coach, everybody's gone.
Right. Oh, man. Hey, you and Donald Trump, man, you played golf, you're friends. Give me your assessment. I mean, now you got to wear Kevlar apparently and a helmet, but, you know, what's your assessment?
Well, here's my first assessment, Dan, is that I think we should be able to talk about politics and who we like, who we appreciate, why we like those people. You know, you talk about policy without people casting stones, right? Without saying, oh, we're going to cancel somebody. You know, if you're liberal and you believe in a certain politician, you should be able to talk about that, express your beliefs. If you want Donald Trump, you should be able to express those beliefs without us getting all of our feathers ruffled, right? I mean, we should be able to have a conversation, be completely on opposite sides and be respectful and kind and honest about the discussion. And that's what's great about our country. And I hopefully we can get back to that someday. That's why, like, I don't fear talking about what I believe and why I believe what I believe. I think if you look at Donald Trump and you do it objectively and you just look at his 3 or 4 years in office, right? Really 3 years prior to COVID. And you look at any objective measure compared to 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, and you talk about the things that matter to people at home, you talk about the economy, you talk about safety, you talk about shelter, their home, the border, the economy, the things that matter to the people at home. Every objective measure, Donald Trump did a better job than the Biden-Harris administration. And so I think that's what in the end is going to matter. There's over 200,000 registered Republicans in Arizona that didn't vote in the last presidential election. If half of those people vote, I'm not talking about getting other people the center of that. Just half of registered Republicans in Arizona, Arizona wins the state of Arizona. It holds true in each of those swing states as well. And so people who are registered Republicans, they just need to get out and vote for Donald Trump. And I don't understand, to me, how you wouldn't, because the two parties have never been further apart. The ideas and what they want to do with our country are so diametrically opposed to each other that I don't understand. The people are like, well, I don't like Donald Trump, so I don't think I'm going to vote for him. Or I don't like the things, that he says at some of his rallies. And he's not nice sometimes to people. And to me, I don't understand that. You vote for policy. You vote for the people who are going to lead the country in the direction that you believe it should be led.
Honest to God, like I've always said, I don't get my morality from politicians. I mean, damn, we saw what Clinton was all about. JFK was stupid Marilyn Monroe and others. Reagan married I'm not even going to get into that. Old Bush supposedly had a long time. The young Bush was a coke addict. I mean, I don't get my freaking morality from politicians. And I don't think it gives a crap. Tell me how my life is better. Tell me how my world is going to be better for my kids, and let's figure it out. That's it.
You have a politician who the other day literally said, hey, I've been shot at and shot once, and then somebody tried to shoot me a second time, and I'm not quitting. I'm still here for you and for your country. That is amazing to me. Like, if that's me, I honestly think, sayonara, like, I got plenty of money. I don't need this. And me and my family are going to go live our life. And I give him a ton of credit for being able to literally put his life on the line for this country and try to lead it in the direction that he believes it should be led.
I agree. It's fascinating. It really is. He's a tough dude, man. Hey, your son's at Colorado. I'm defending Colorado. I got Finebaum and others going crazy. I say, look, man, I think Colorado got better against Nebraska and they beat the hell out of Colorado State. How's that experience going, man? How's from a guy that played and understands what goes on in locker rooms 14 years like you did, what do you think from all the attention and Shador and Deion? I mean, what's your take on the whole situation?
Well, it's certainly always a learning, growing experience for him. And it's good as a dad to be able to give him context. For him, it was a tough year last year. He started out, he was kicking, and then, he's not kicking field goals anymore. And there's disappointment. And that's what's great about sports, right? I mean, you go through trials and errors and you fail on a big stage and everybody sees it. And you got to be able to deal with that as a young kid. And for me to be able to sit as a dad and be like, hey, let me give you a couple examples of, the times that I really struggled and that I failed. And this is how I dealt with it. And then just to be there as a dad for him so that he knows I love him, whether he's starting or not. And I love him, whether he's kicking well or not. I'm his biggest fan. And so that's kind of my role with him, as he goes through that roller coaster of emotions and succeeding and failing and trying to go after your dreams. And I love that. I love the fact that he's willing to put his dreams on the line. And that's not easy to do. It's not easy. Everybody watches a sport and they watch a game and they're critical of young kids as they're out there. And when they fail, they lambaste them online. But, these kids are putting their dreams on the line in front of everybody. And they deserve a lot of credit just for doing that. And so that's kind of what I do with him, is that, he's one of my best friends and I'm one of his best friends. And that's a fun role to be in. Like if I'm going to go golfing, there's nobody I'd rather go golfing with than my boy.
Yeah, it's funny. When my son played basketball at Ohio State, I said, look, I love you, but if you make another turnover, when you come home, you're sleeping in the freaking garage. I'm just telling you. Hey, last thing. You think Deion Sanders is there once his kids are gone and Hunter?
I have no idea. That'll be really interesting. You know, it will. I don't think anybody does. That'll be really interesting next year. You know, when his kids move on and Travis Hunter's not there, you know, who knows what's going to happen. And, you know, he says he's going to be there. I think this, and I think you have to go out and you have to really recruit high school kids and create a base if you're going to build a program. I don't think it's sustainable to try and go out and get massive amounts of transfer portal kids to build a program, a long-term program, because they're kind of mercenaries. And when things go bad, you know, there's a little bit of narcissistic mentality. And my son was one of the guys who left in the transfer portal. So I'm not just criticizing all kids, but when you're continually leaving in transfer portal and you're bringing all those types of kids in, they're looking out for themselves, you know, and you don't have anybody who loves the program. You know, when I was at Michigan and you stayed there for 4 years, every one of us wanted to transfer at some point in that time. You know, you go through disappointments, you want to transfer. Oh, I'm not getting played. You know, coach doesn't like me, whatever, you know, young 18, 19-year-olds think, and you stick it out and you put it through, and then you get to your senior year and, hey, this is my university. We're going to win, and we're going to do it the right way because I'm a senior this year and I want to leave a legacy. And I think if you want to build a program, you have to have guys that feel that way. And there has to be a base in your program that loves the university and that wants to win for the university, not just for themselves.